And what is going on, guys? UCF Jaguar coming at you from GenJag.com, and I want to welcome you guys to my 6th installment of Jaguar 2017 position previews. If you have not seen my other 5 videos, please sure to check them out either in my channel or at GenJag TV. And today we are going to discuss the linebacker position. So enjoy. Now, when I look at the linebacker position, I think there are definitely 5 position locks, and I think the big question is whether we should keep 5 linebackers or 6 linebackers. Our starting linebackers are going to be Telvin Smith, Myles Jack, and then Pollard at the strong side linebacker spot, and then backing them up by Blair Brown, Audie Cole, and Hayes Pulaar. First off, we'll talk about our best linebacker and most proven linebacker currently, and that is Telvin Smith. I don't really have to explain to you guys too much about Telvin Smith, because if you've been any sort of a Jaguar fan these last 2 years, you know that Telvin Smith has been one of our best players on the defense, and he's also been a huge fan favorite. Now he's going to be starting at the will linebacker spot, which is the weak side spot, which allows him to use a lot of his speed that he has in space. Now he's an every down player. We need him in there every play. He's very excellent at what he does, and he's a great leader for the team. Now, Telvin Smith is heading into his contract year. I expect the Jaguars to re-sign him because he's been such a key part of our defense and such a spark for our defense whenever he is in there playing. So I definitely hope that he gets the contract that he deserves. Now, next up we have Myles Jack. Now, this is a huge year for Myles Jack. Last year they drafted him. He was playing a very small role. He was in there at the strong side linebacker spot, and Jaguar fans got really annoyed because it really felt like we were not putting him on the field enough. But it's really hard to find a spot for him to play significantly on the team, because at the will and the Mike are every down players, but over at the strong side you're playing about 30-35% of the snaps. So in order to get Myles Jack on the field, you would either have to bench Telvin Smith or you're going to have to bench Lesney. So obviously they're not going to bench Telvin Smith, so they went with the older option and Lesney. Now, training camp and the preseason are going to be so important for Myles Jack, because he's going to have to be the smartest player on the defense. He's essentially the quarterback of the defense. He lines everybody up and makes sure everybody's in the right position during the pre-snap. And he's also supposed to relay calls from the defensive coordinator over to the rest of the defense. So really every rep is going to be important for Myles Jack. So once the regular season comes through, I feel like he may have some growing pains during the first maybe quarter of the year, but as soon as he gets out of that, I think this guy can be an absolutely elite player. This guy is a new prototype for what middle linebacker is going to be with the NFL turning into this passing league, and he's been one of the best linebackers coming out of college when it comes to covering passing plays. Now, if there's anybody that's going to be benefiting the most from practicing against the Buccaneers and practicing against the New England Patriots, it's Blake Bortles and Myles Jack. Another thing to note about Myles Jack is that last year he got cross-trained at all 3 different linebacker positions. He played will for a little bit, he played middle linebacker, and then once the season kind of rolled around, they slowly transitioned him into the strong side linebacker spot to be able to get him on the field somehow. So I expect big things from Myles Jack this year. He was my favorite player in the 2016 NFL draft, and even if he plays at a really high level, he probably won't get into the Pro Bowl, just because, especially for Jaguar players, it usually takes a year to really get your name out there before you are entered into any kind of big Pro Bowl type of role. Starting at our strong side linebacker spot, I have Lesney. Now, it's really unfortunate for Lesney because last year he played one of the best years of his career, but unfortunately we have Myles Jack on the roster, and we had to get Myles Jack on the field somehow, so it came at the expense of Lesney. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how Paul plays in the Sam linebacker spot. There's really no clear understanding of how the strong side linebacker is going to be played compared to last year, because they said the scheme is going to change and that spot is supposed to change. Now, I think that Paul Lesney will be blitzing a lot less from that spot. In years past, it was rushing the passer a lot, but I expect it to be more of a run stopping type of thing. And I really wish I could tell y'all more about this Sam linebacker spot, but it's going to be a position I'm really going to be studying in preseason to really see how it's being played. Now, next up, I have Blair Brown. He was our 5th round draft pick out of Ohio University, and he is going to be the backup will linebacker. Now, I think Blair Brown was drafted a huge part in not only providing us linebacker depth, which we're obviously kind of short on, but also provide a athletic presence in our special teams unit. And next on the team, I have Audie Cole. He was signed in the later wave of free agency from the Vikings, and he's going to be the backup Sam linebacker to Paul Lesney. And the Jaguars also noted that when they grabbed this guy that they wanted him to be a big role in special teams, which obviously this team is trying to really crack down on, because our special teams last year was pretty awful. It was very undisciplined, just seemed very lazy. A lot of stupid turnovers that, like, we didn't get enough turnovers on offense. We were literally turning the ball over on special teams and even allowing big chunk plays. So a lot of people were worried about Blake Bortles getting in the way of our team, but our special teams can't get in the way of us either. And at the 6th and final spot, I think Hayes Pulaar will probably make the team. Now, he's been on the Jaguars since 2015. He's played all different linebacker spots. He's mostly just played middle linebacker and will linebacker, so he provides some cross-training kind of experience over there if you're really in a bind and need to find somebody to start there. And I think he can potentially contribute on special teams. Now, of all my position previews, I'm kind of least confident that Hayes Pulaar will be able to make the team. I think that there's probably a good chance that we may only keep 5, but I'm just putting 6 right there just because I do like Hayes Pulaar. When he's gotten his opportunities to play and prove stuff to the coaches, I think he's done a pretty good job, and if he does get cut, I think he'll be snatched up really quick once the first wave of post 53-man roster cuts happens. And one last thing I forgot to mention, if Myles Jack were to potentially get injured and they needed somebody to play there, I think there might be a good chance that Paul Lesney will slide over and play that middle linebacker spot. Now, obviously the defense is going to be changing a little bit scheme-wise, so I don't know if it's going to be enough of a change to where Paul Lesney won't be able to come in there and play. If Myles Jack goes down in the middle of a game, I don't think Paul will slide over there yet, but if you have a whole week to train him and get him adapted in a sense, he's been in the NFL for over 10 years, so he's a very smart player, so I think that he'd have a good chance of being able to pick it up. But when it comes to the kind of impact that these linebackers will have on our team, it's really all on Telvin Smith and Myles Jack to be able to show out and prove that our linebacking spot is going to be great. I think it's an awesome combination. They both provide such good speed, and not only speed, but they're both very athletic and they can both cover a lot of space. I'm really hoping these guys gel together well, just because when it seemed like Telvin Smith was talking to media after that one OTA practice, he didn't seem to really be in the best of moods about Paul Lesney switching over. I think he's a little frustrated with teaching a puppy how to play a position when usually the middle linebacker was teaching him how to do stuff. So,
yo, look, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, y'all suckers, bro. You feel me?
It will be a very important few or several weeks of training camp and preseason for Myles Jack. But if you know Myles Jack and heard Myles Jack, this guy is so into football and he's so into his craft. So I think that Myles Jack will do everything he can to be able to reach his full potential. And with that said, that's the end of my video. As you guys can tell, I'm pretty excited about what these guys can do. Really excited to see Myles Jack finally be able to get on the field and show off his skill set. And yeah, With that said, this is y'all's boy UCF Jaguar reporting with GenJag.com, and I'm out.
Oh, the locker room's a little different. Who are you next to now?
I am next to Dante's on one side of me.
You think putting you next to Dante was intentional?
Yeah, I think Dante will have a very positive impact on me. I'm looking at